That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to the Show Up Podcast. My name is Calvin Nowell, and my whole life I've been working to show up.
You have great potential.
Show up for my friendships, show up for my family, show up for my health, and show up for my future. Showing up means looking at what's happening in life and navigating through what I can do to make it better.
Keep your focus.
Make it better. Make it more meaningful and make a difference, not only for me, but for everyone around me.
The people who really care for you are rooting for your rise.
I'm still a work in progress. Now let's show up.
Hey everyone, Calvin Nowell here. You are listening and watching the Show Up Podcast. I am in the studio today with my good friend Nikki Lerner.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
She is from Baltimore, and today, guys, I am so excited. I met a friend maybe about 6 months ago. He is an incredible author, fitness guru, expert. He has a book called Sleep Smarter. He's amazing. He's teaching me left and right with this book, and I am honored and blessed to have him on the podcast. Can you help me welcome Mr. Shawn Stevenson? What's up, brother?
What's up? I was gonna clap myself. Thank you.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be some claps at the end when I edit it.
Put some claps in there. We need some claps.
Just a little audience. I don't know. Just getting creative with it. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really good, feeling good, and just grateful to be here.
Man, glad to have you. Well, man, I wanted to first of all introduce my audience to you, and as everybody that's listening, watching, everybody knows that I'm on this health journey, and so I've been working really hard. In the last 18 months, lost over 150 pounds, and I'm halfway there. I'm doing keto, and I met Shawn through Drew Manning, my mentor, health coach, and I was out in Utah, and Drew was like, "Hey man, you want to go work out with my buddy?" And I was just like, okay. And man, I went to work out with Drew and Shawn, and guys, they are amazing, and they're beasts, and they're in great shape. Both of them got their shirt off working out, but I never felt judged. I just want to tell you that, man. I never felt judged. I felt included. And I felt like I had two big brothers that was rooting for me. And, we got a chance to hang, and you just encouraged me really greatly, man. And so as a result of meeting you, I got your book, and I was like, hold up. I need to dive into this thing on Sleep Smarter. And so I just wanted to say, can you just give my audience, because they may be new to you, can you just give a little bit of background about how you got into this Sleep Smarter and into this whole health industry thing?
Sure. What's so funny is that the sleep aspect, I'm a nutritionist, and the sleep aspect came kind of out of necessity. And it was just a big gap in the conversation, because there's a lot of health books out there. Obviously, it's one of the biggest things that's going to keep having stuff come in the industry, but they'll talk about it a little bit, just make sure you're getting 8 hours sleep. Make sure you're getting 8 hours sleep. Make sure sleep's important.
Right.
Why? And I don't think it was a visceral connection for people, because today more than ever, sleep, if you got 10 things to do and sleep is one of them, sleep gets omitted first.
Exactly.
You don't really have a visceral understanding of how does it actually impact things? How does it impact my work performance? How does it impact my creativity? How does it impact my body composition?
Yeah.
And so what I did was just really set out to expose what so many people, I feel like they were just lacking this bit of data. And it's so thick when you look in the research that me being a nutritionist, I believe that food was the most important thing, because that's my dogma. Yeah. But I had to really get face to face with understanding that your sleep and your sleep quality is more important than your nutrition and your exercise combined.
Yeah.
And it was really tough for me to wrap my mind around it. But once I did, it really allowed me to embrace the data and to express it. Yeah. Because sleep is inherently, it's not a sexy topic either. It's not one of those things like, yeah, I'm about to start this new sleep tomorrow. Yeah. It's not like this, I'm starting my diet on Monday, the new diet, the hot exercise program, my guy, Shawn T's got new 20 minutes, kick you in the face, whatever. Like we want that.
Yeah.
But just to be like, let me actually, and here's the thing that's kind of ironic that I just realized not too long ago is that part of the reason we don't respect our sleep and our sleep quality, number one, of course, is the visceral understanding of why it matters. Yes. But also it's because we don't inherently believe that we can get so much benefit for nothing. And we'll talk about some of the benefits today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we don't really believe that we can get something by doing nothing, when we're taught that you have to work for everything. You have to work hard.
Yes.
And ironically, what I've really been thinking about lately is that today, more than ever, it is actually something you got to work pretty hard at.
Yeah.
Because there's so much coming at us, and we, are subjected to a really unhealthy amount of FOMO, right? This fear of missing out. And for you to actually turn Netflix off and take your ass to sleep, it's not an easy task today,
right?
So
totally,
it is something that really does kind of require you to work hard in a sense. But, and I believe this as well, that, we're missing out on the spiritual aspect of it, and not really having a belief and faith in ourselves, and, what kind of created this whole situation, that we have the ability to take rest and things are going to be better. Things are going to be okay. We don't have to try to fix and do everything with our little lives, and just how ignorant that is, And so I just felt it was a missing piece in the market, and me being in this field for 17 years now. I think it was an important message, and it really has changed culture, man. It's crazy. It's like 20 different languages it's translated in. And, even it's about 3 years since it came out, it's still like top 10 and Audible. And, it's just really, really made a big impact. And I'm very grateful.
Well, man, I appreciate it because, as I'm doing this journey, I'm just trying to figure out, and you can jump in, but I'm trying to just figure out all the things that I can be doing to be healthier. So yes, I'm doing the keto and I'm starting to do the workouts, but then as I started reading your book, I'm like, no, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I can sleep better and get my goals? Is that something that if people read the book, follow it through, that is there a way to correlate the sleep with the health part as far as like losing weight?
Oh yeah, for sure. And here's the thing too, is that experts tend to overcomplicate things because it makes you sound good. It makes you sound really smart. Mm-hmm. And the reality is a lot of this stuff is inherently simple. It's just, experts overcomplicate stuff. Mm-hmm. And so one bit of data, and again, there's so much of this, what I'm about to share, that it's absurd. It's just, if we're not asking the right questions, we're not going to know. And it's one of those things of, you don't know what you don't know. And so with that said, University of Chicago, and I'll make this super brief and simple. Yeah. University of Chicago sought out to find how much does your sleep quality impact your body composition. And they wanted to look at how your sleep impacted body fat. Mm-hmm. And so they took the test subjects and they put them on a calorie restricted diet, which is pretty simple stuff that I was taught to do in a university setting. Doesn't necessarily work, by the way, but it's just kind of the conventional thing. And so they put folks on a calorie restricted diet and monitored everything. And one phase of the study, they sleep deprived them. All right. So they only were able to get 5.5 hours of sleep. Another phase of the study, they take the same people, they are on the same exact diet. They're not cutting away any more calories. They're not exercising more. The only thing that they're doing is they're allowing them to get 3 more hours of sleep. So now they're getting 8.5 hours of sleep.
Oh, wow.
And after they compiled all the data, they found that when folks were getting an adequate amount of sleep, they lost 55% more body fat from just sleeping more.
Come on.
Not counting any more calories or cutting away more food, not working harder, just sleeping. And
That's
automatically, for a lot of people, that can kind of jar you and just make you think like this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, I'm always asking why. What is the behind the scenes mechanism? And what it really is, man, is that, again, I said that this is an important statement, that your sleep is more important than your diet and your exercise combined, is because the impact it has on your hormones. When we're talking about changing our bodies and changing our outer appearance, it all comes down to hormones. Your hormones are controlling the whole show. This is why, for example, when we're like 16, we're out, we could do whatever, just got our license. I'm going to White Castles. Okay. That's where I'm going. I don't know if you guys have that.
Oh, I'm from Cincinnati. They got White Castles, brother.
Okay. So we're hitting up the Castle Whites. I'm getting the chicken rings. I'm getting the crave case.
Yeah.
Shake. Yeah. All of it, put some cheese on my fries. So we're going hard. Mm-hmm. And so we can, quote, get away and do this stuff when we're younger. But then many people see today, when they get in their later 20s and the 30s and 40s, if they try to eat the same way or behave the same way they did when they were in their teens, I'm telling you, even if they just sniff, if they walk into White Castles, they gain a pound, right?
Totally.
You just walk in and smell it in your arms like a little bit, like, why is it jiggling? You know, you didn't even eat the fries. You know, it's just, then my question is, all of us have seen this experience, or we have a friend. We have a friend who just seems to be able to eat whatever they want. And, you know, they're not having that same kind of, and a lot of times, of course, we'll hate that friend. But here's what's different. What's different is your hormones. From when you were younger to now, you're the same person, but your hormones changed, right? You still have those same memories of going ham at Chuck E. Cheese. But today, what's different is your hormones, and your sleep has the biggest impact on your hormones. I'll give you 3 really quickly, and why this study had such a big impact. And by the way, I didn't say they lost 55% more weight. This was actual fat. This was an oxidation of fat mass, specifically 55% more. And one of those reasons is because of this glorified sleep hormone that you hear about today. You know, everybody's heard this term melatonin, not to be mistaken with melanin, all right? Which is what makes us a little bit darker. I know we're about to go to Jamaica, all right? I'm with the beige right now, I know. But melanin is different from melatonin, all right? Melatonin is something, it's not about sleep, all right? That's a part of what it does. It really helps to regulate your circadian rhythm or your circadian timing system in your body, which in essence is, and by the way, this isn't just some like airy fairy thing. This is how your body is lined up with nature. And literally when the day changes, your hormones change based on what time of day it is. All of us.
Wow.
And also from day to day, month to month, you know, we know that women have a cycle, for example. Men have cycles too, but, you know, and women know that too. You know, it's just sometimes we're more irritated than other times, or irritating, should I say, because we have our cycles. And it could be, you know, just on a daily basis, right? And there's a certain time of day when your stress hormones are higher. There's a certain time of day when your anabolic hormones that are like muscle sparing and promotive of energy are higher, depending on the day. So melatonin helps to regulate that system and that cycle. And melatonin is also a very powerful fat burning hormone. Come to find out. And this was a study, and this was published in the International, it was the International Association for the Study of Obesity. And I might have switched the word up in there. But what they found was that melatonin increases the release and the mobilization of something called brown adipose tissue. All right, brown adipose tissue, or you can call it brown fat. So this is a type of fat that burns fat, all right, this brown adipose tissue. When we think about we're trying to burn fat, again, what is it? We have to start asking these questions. What is this? We just look at what is it? What are we trying to attack here? And we don't have just one kind of fat. And so if we look at it, in humans, by the way, we're the only land mammal that has this, it's called subcutaneous fat. All right, subcutaneous fat. And so that's fat right underneath our skin. And it's a very surface level. We don't really have that much. You can't accumulate that much subcutaneous fat. But, you know, like I said, we're the land mammal that has that. Like, you know, I got deer out here in my backyard. They don't have fat under their skin like that. Or even if you look at primates, even a gorilla, you know, gorillas look swole. They got the big belly, but it's a big fermentation thing. Their body fat is very low. They don't have a lot of subcutaneous fat. So that's one type. And we also have visceral fat. And that's really what we're trying to target too. Or it's also called omentum fat. And what that is like the visceral fat around our organs, you know, specifically, you know, in the gut region. And so melatonin, being that it promotes the increase in mobilization of brown fat, and brown fat is only small pockets on your body. You got some by your clavicles, your upper back. We'll have some a little bit in your center of your chest. That's about it. All right. So it doesn't have that much power to do the thing that we're thinking that we want it to do, which is to burn fat. Again, this is the type of fat that burns the fat we're trying to get rid of. And I'll put a bow on it with this. The type we're trying to get rid of is white adipose tissue generally. And so when you're sleep deprived or you're not on a normal day and night cycle, you're missing on this powerful ability to increase your metabolism just from doing nothing. You know, whether you're sitting around recording a podcast or you're exercising, your metabolism is going to be working more efficiently and you're going to be burning more calories just because you're producing more melatonin and thus more brown adipose tissue. That's one. Really quick, the other two I'll share, and I could just go on and on. I can give you 10
I'm like,
20
duh, I'm like,
hormones.
wow, this is amazing.
Melatonin is one. The other one that has a big impact is human growth hormone, which in this study, probably the biggest impact on body fat due to growth hormone, all right, or HGH. And so this is something that is muscle sparing. So when people are cutting calories, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you do traditional calorie cutting, upwards of 60 to 70% of the weight you lose can be from your lean muscle tissue. Your body will be burning the very thing that will help to keep you thin, all right? Because muscle is your body's fat burning machinery. It's just expensive to carry. Yeah. And if you're depriving yourself, your body's going to get rid of that expensive stuff. Yeah. Because it's a survival mechanism, you know, and it's going to try to hold on to that fat. And so this is why so many people, they'll lose the weight and they'll gain it back, is because they're not changing that body composition and they're losing a lot of muscle by calorie restricting. And so human growth hormone is muscle sparing, protein sparing. So it helps your body to retain and hang on to your muscle. It's really a big component of energy and energy utilization, namely how your body's using calories. And kids have a tremendous amount of HGH production. That's why they have so much energy. But right around 18 to 20, we have a steep decline in HGH production. My argument is because this is when we don't have any rules anymore. We're not really abiding by sleep. 18 years old, a lot of us get out the house. We're kicking it. You know, we're in college, we're doing whatever. You know, but during sleep is when you get the greatest secretion. It's anabolic window of HGH. It really keeps you young. It's also known as the youth hormone. And so those are two. One last one, cortisol. And if you want, I'll just pitch it back to you now.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want to talk about some other hormones involved, but just bottom line is sleep deprivation leads to a dramatic increase in body fat, period.
Yeah.
Calvin, can I ask you a question?
Yes, go for it.
This might be good for your female listeners. Since you had mentioned about hormones, Shawn, I'm curious, can you speak to just getting more sleep when you get into the later years, 40s and 50s, and when women start to experience either premenopause or during menopause? I know I have some friends in my world who are really struggling with the symptoms of that. In your study, in your research, is there anything that you can speak to that might be connected to our sleep for women? Absolutely.
And so a big part of my clinical experience was working with women who, you know, in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And so I've seen that transition a lot. And to be straightforward about this, it's just like anything in life. It's how well are you prepared for it when it happens? It's how gracefully you're going to go through it. Right.
That's good.
And so, for example, with, you know, when somebody's having a baby, the best time to get prepared is before you have the baby, you know, before you get pregnant, and getting your body, you know, the quote detoxification, but, you know, that's a really big catchword today. But just allowing for your, you know, your cells to be doing their job, for your pancreas to be working optimally, so you're not looking at gestational diabetes, just like making sure all the systems are working well before you get pregnant, because it's more difficult for your body to sort it out once you're in it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
All right. So, and also nutrition wise, because the baby gets priority because of how this thing is designed. Your omega-3 levels, if you're just skating by or you're deficient, your baby's getting all of it, every little micron that comes into your system, because you're deficient in it coming into it. And so getting yourself prepared. So that's really the answer is the women that are struggling with the, you know, the hot flashes and issues with sleep, is we need to start getting prepared beforehand and getting these lifestyle practices in place, because you are not ordained to suffer. It's just that our lifestyle today is not supportive of us having these healthy lifestyle practices and transitions. You know, so it's really it's a big faux pas on the part of our culture overall. But once we realize that, still, we have to take responsibility for our lives. And so I want to see more women to be proactive before we get into those states. But here's the crazy part is that the person who wrote the forward for Sleep Smarter for my book, She's a New York Times bestselling author, multiple time. Dr. Sarah Godfrey, who wrote The Hormone Cure, and many books addressing specifically women's hormones. And so there are solutions for that. And it's really finding ways to get, and she calls it like this Goldilocks position with certain hormones, you know, like your thyroid, cortisol, even hormones like melatonin that we've been talking about, but getting them all in a good position. And by the way, so when I keep saying this word hormones, again, we gotta, what is that? And hormones are basically, they're basically chemical messengers that help your cells to communicate. So the cells in your eyes being able to communicate with the cells in your liver, all right, because they are connected. Everything in your body's connected. And just letting different parts of your body, hey, we need more lutein up here. We need more, certain neurotransmitters over here. That communication, it's a beautiful song. It's an orchestra that's all on one accord.
Yeah.
But what can happen when hormones are dysregulated is basically, you got the orchestra going and somebody comes in and they just start, I don't know, they start peeing on the stage. I don't know, something crazy happens. I don't know why that popped in my head. I'm sorry. But something just outrageous just starts happening and it throws off that whole communication. All right. And so what we need to do is look at how can we optimize hormones. And I want people to start looking at, instead of a calorie restricted diet, looking more at a hormone healthy diet and supporting our hormones to do those jobs, because your body knows what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
As you transition from that state of fertility to, into menopause, your body knows what to do and it wants to support and have a graceful transition. And our ancestors, and even if you talk to, I've got, my mother-in-law being from Kenya, even they just didn't have those issues.
Right.
It was just kind of it might take a couple, it's like, when it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's a couple of days process kind of thing, not something that drags on for months and months and months, maybe a couple of weeks, but your body it knows what to do. And it's our job to support the transition.
So my question would be, I know people are listening and watching and are just like, all right, so you convinced me. I'm convinced. I need to sleep smarter. How do I need 8 hours? What's the recommendation of sleep that's going to really set you up to succeed? Oh
man, I honestly, I can't stand the 8 hours of sleep thing.
See?
I can't.
And why?
Stand it.
That because I don't know. That's just kind of what people have been taught.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. It's because we're even looking at sleep like we do with our diet, and that is this cookie cutter thing. You just do this one thing and everything works, and it's just not like that. Because just with our diet, if you're eating, a calorie restricted diet, but you're eating, part of your diet is a 500 calories of Oreo cookies versus 500 calories of, wild caught salmon and asparagus or whatever, your body's going to function very differently. It's going to have a very different impact on your cortisol, norepinephrine, glucagon, insulin. All these things are going to be functioning very differently. And the results that you get, you might lose weight, but you're going to screw up your hormones and you're going to screw up what's happening long term because you're really damaging the system. And so the same thing goes with our sleep. You can get a certain amount of hours of sleep, but what is the quality of those hours? Just like the quality of the calories. Because you can get, I used to, when I was struggling with my own health, almost 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with this so-called incurable spinal condition, which was very much reversible, but I didn't know this at the time. And for me, my biggest struggle was sleeping at night because of this pain. And so I would get 8 hours of sleep a lot of nights, but I was drugging myself with my prescription and my over-the-counter medications to knock me out. And so it was really pseudo sleep because I woke up, I was never really recovered because I was forcing my body to just be unconscious. That's not the same thing as going through your sleep cycles.
Right.
Ultimately, which that's what sleep really is. When we boil it down, how do we know we're asleep? Is because there's a change in your brain waves, right? And we go from a normal waking state right now, which we're probably in beta right now in our frequency, or we can get into a little gamma. And then we go from there, we transition into alpha, then theta, and then deep delta sleep. And each of those stages and changes in our brain waves equates to different changes in our bodies that we need to recover. Mind, body, emotion, everything about us needs to get recalibrated. If sleep wasn't important, we would have evolved out of it a long time ago, because it's just stupid. Honestly, it's a really strange, weird, seeming waste of time, but we are so intricate and evolved. Like, the way that we run as humans, like, we literally can build spaceships, like, we are so expansive. And for us to be who we are and have during sleep, that all of these incredible things happen to bring us back better. We do so much, and this is our opportunity. Like, literally, our brain is changing when we're sleeping. As a matter of fact, your brain shrinks when you're asleep.
What?
And that sounds weird. Is that
a good thing?
But it's a good thing, because during the day, we're accumulating a lot of metabolic wastes, because your brain is doing millions of processes like every minute. And so there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of dead cells that need to get flushed out. And we have something called the glymphatic system that helps. It's like the internal housekeeping service or waste management system in your brain, which is incredibly important, because now we know that issues like Alzheimer's disease, which is an epidemic right now.
Yeah.
6th, almost 5th leading cause of death now. And it's a painful death where you don't remember the people you love in some instances. It's just like a really terrible thing. And now we're understanding that one of the components that we're looking at with Alzheimer's is an inability of the brain to detoxify itself. So to get rid of this waste. Your glymphatic system that gets rid of this waste is 10 times more active when you're asleep. That's when it actually does this housekeeping. That's why your brain shrinks, because it's getting rid of all this waste. It's not your brain actually shrinking. It's just the dirtiness, the fluid, the metabolic waste, all that stuff getting washed out. Because as soon as you get your butt up, you're out there being dangerous to the world. You're accumulating a lot of waste. And so, the list goes on and how it impacts our, our body, mind, and spirit.
So you're saying, you need the 3 cycles. So do you do the 3 cycles, is that like 90 minutes a cycle? Is it do you need, I mean, I'm just trying to walk away with a rule of thumb, maybe it's not 8. I've also heard that it's 6 hours, would be good. I'm just trying to plan all right, so when I go to bed, I'm going to make sure that I at least get me 6 hours, and I'm going to do the other things to help impact my sleep, like my pillow. And I want to talk about all that other stuff. But I think I just want to know, for me personally, how should I approach my sleep now?
Okay. Yeah. So they're depending on which expert you talk to, they're generally agreed that there are 4 stages of sleep that we're needing to get some adequate time in. Mainly, it's consolidated in REM sleep and non-REM sleep are the big ones that people talk about. REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep. And this is when you're doing a lot of dreaming. This is also when you are doing a large bit of something called memory consolidation. And this is where you're converting your experiences, even from right now, into your short-term memory and become something more solid and retrievable. So you could do things that damage your REM sleep and you don't remember what even happened. For example, if somebody drinks too much right before bed, many people have had the experience that they don't quite remember exactly what took place. And that's because when you drink alcohol close to the time you go to sleep, we have this phenomenon, something called REM rebound effect, where your REM sleep is suppressed and depressed for a certain amount of time. And this is also the real hallmark of what we call hangover, or these hangover symptoms, is because our sleep is damaged.
Oh, wow.
And that's really what it is. And so getting adequate time in each of those, and it depends on the person. So this, again, I can't give a cookie cutter answer, but to go through a sleep cycle, complete sleep cycle, it's generally somewhere around 70 to 110 minutes. We'll just say that, depending on the person. But in the middle right there, we got about 90 minutes for each sleep cycle. And so at minimum, what we really need is about 4 of those sleep cycles. So if it's 90 minutes, that's right around 6 hours.
Okay.
That's what I do recommend as a minimum. We do want to look at, just so we can get recovered. So we're not damaging our immune system, so that we're on and on and on. But it's going to depend on the person. Some people need more sleep. If you're, stressed out at work and you're, training hard and all this stuff, you're probably going to need more sleep. Your body's going to need more time to recover. You know, you got to look at your lifestyle, and you got to look at your stress levels. You know, and I don't want people just quote getting by, you know, because they're getting 6 hours of sleep. I want you to thrive.
Yeah.
So you might need more, but I think that sweet spot for a lot of people is going to be right around the 5 complete cycle mark, which is going to be somewhere around 7.5 hours. But some people need 9.
Yeah.
LeBron James sleeps 10. You know what I'm saying? But you just got to keep it all in perspective. Like, what is important for you in your life?
Well, the other thing is so let me just be a little bit vulnerable about my sleep situation. So I was diagnosed with sleep apnea maybe in 2012. And I want to, as I'm losing weight, I want to be able to not have it. Is there any recommendations of, have you heard of people with sleep apnea, how they can, you know, sleep better? Because, you know, being as big as I was, you know, would always have to sleep on my side, you know, because you can't really sleep on your stomach because of the mask is be on your pillow. But is there something that you would suggest for people that are like myself, of like, hey, you need these 3 things or 4 things? You need a pillow, you know, the right kind of pillow, you know, the body temperature that you should be sleeping in. You know, like I saw one interview where you said it's better to sleep with less clothes, you know, or naked is for optimal sleep. Like, what are some of those things that you suggest practically, that if I say, okay, I'm going to fix my sleep tonight, what are some practical things we can do to add?
Sure. Really quick, I want to preface this with the sleep apnea thing, which is, again, this is another big epidemic now. It's not unusual at all for folks to, you know, use CPAP. And for me, that's just like, it's a supplement. You know, we don't want to mistake that for the real solution, which is a lot of times because, you know, we're talking 90% of folks, it's due to issues with their weight or body fat, because there are also thin people who are also, you know, quote, skinny fat in their body composition, because, you know, they can be carrying more visceral fat, which is going to sit on your organs and it can depress your ability to breathe properly. And so the goal is to get the weight off, which is difficult if you're not sleeping, as we already talked about, which is this really kind of interesting vicious circle, I guess you could say, you know, because we need to get better sleep in order to get the weight off. But to get the weight off, we need to get better sleep, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
I think I said that right. But so we need to do something in order to help support that. So that's why I believe a CPAP can be a good bridge. But when you're up, you need to be dangerous. You know, you need to get that sleep and then get up and then execute on the things that you need to do in your waking hours to support that weight loss that largely happens when you're sleeping. We're talking about the recovery from your exercise, consolidation of nutrients and detoxification and elimination of the things that your body doesn't need. A lot of that happens during sleep, right? So as far as tactical things, something you just mentioned, the environment or the temperature. And that's one of the interesting things we see in several studies, that folks who have insomnia or these kind of chronic sleep issues, their core body temperature tends to run hotter than normal at night. And humans in general, you know, an average person, they go through, it's called thermoregulation is the process, but they go through a drop in our core body temperature at night. All of us, if everything's working well, it's natural, normal. Our core temperature drops to facilitate sleep, because as that core temperature drops, this elicits hormonal programs, enzymatic programs, different things are taking place in order to facilitate and create great sleep. So we recover better. And we all know experientially, well, most of us, how it sucks when you're too hot trying to sleep.
The worst.
Doesn't feel good, you know. It's miserable. Like we just, as a culture, we generally want to be a little bit cooler when we're sleeping. Not cold, not cold. Some people don't play with cold, but it's better to be cooler.
Do you find out that culturally, like, because, you know, we have a lot of diversity in our friendships and people that we know, and whenever I'm out of town, if I with white friends, they like it colder, and then I'm like, nah, that's too cold. Black people don't like it that cold. We like it hot or warmer. Like we like it just right. But is there something that, because of our culture, that makes us have a certain preference, or is that just like a myth?
Might be all in
No,
your
you just hit
head.
that Goldilocks keyword, just right. You hit that.
That's right.
So, and that's the thing. It absolutely, this is just kind of practical once you think about it. Where is your lineage? It's from Africa. It's just tend to be a warmer climate.
Yeah.
That's what your genes have been most exposed to through evolution. So it's not just like, an interesting assessment that, might be a hypothesis, could be true, not. It pretty much is, and it's
I've seen that all the time.
It is what it is. So that's one thing. And the experts agree somewhat that the ideal temperature for sleep, and it's going to sound a little chilly, is between 62 and 68 degrees.
Wow.
All right,
Now I
some
know
folks
I'm
are
not
gonna be
crazy.
Like, man, that is.
Now I know I'm not crazy. You have affirmed, Shawn, that I am not crazy. 62, Calvin. 62 degrees.
That's crazy.
And so what they found was in one study that I cited in Sleep Smarter, they took these insomniacs and they fitted them with these cooling caps that ran cold water or cooler water over their scalp. And it just lowered their temperature just 1 degree. And it essentially completely, this was for the majority, I think it was 77% of the test subjects who had insomnia, essentially just cured their insomnia. They fell asleep, which is called sleep latency, just about as fast as folks who didn't have insomnia. They slept just as long and they had equally efficient sleep cycles simply by cooling them off 1 degree. All right.
That's great.
And so what do we do with that? We have such a blessing today. If you're listening to this, then you probably have access to a thermostat. Yeah. This is something that heretofore wasn't something that was available to us as humans that we can take advantage of, because as humans, we would be experiencing different variations in temperature, but today we just always just right. We are trying to keep it, and we never really have the opportunity to adjust. And in the evening is when you're going, whether you live in a place where it gets to be 100 or you live in a place where it gets to be 70, there's going to be a cooler time of day, which is going to be in the evening, know? And so just abide by that. When it gets dark outside, maybe you could put the thermostat down a little bit, or maybe just right before you go to bed, which is what we do. I'll knock it down. My wife is from Africa, so she doesn't really play with the cold. We come to an agreement. 67, 68, we could do that. All right. Yeah. But I just got to get my behind up in the morning and turn the thermostat up. Yeah. Right? For her, it's just getting out of bed in the morning. But she knows she does, in fact, and we've tested this, she sleeps better when it's cooler. All right.
Okay.
And so that's one thing is, managing that temperature. One other thing I'll share, and again, there's 21 clinically strategies in Sleep Smarter, but the biggest issue today, man, and it's so pervasive and it's so difficult to deal with, and I'm not perfect about this either, is managing these things, our tech devices, and it's because, if you think about Instagram, they've got hundreds of engineers working right now to try to keep your behind on their app. Yeah. Exactly. Right. And we think that, I'm good. I got power over my mind. You don't. All right. We're not hardwired to deal with this kind of, it's basically like having a slot machine in our pocket. Yeah. Right. Wow. We get a little hit every time. And now the average, it's somewhere around 300 plus times a day people touch their phone. Yeah. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't want to get into a conversation about the addictive factor. Yeah. But I want you to understand the impact that it has on your sleep, because Harvard researchers are some of the latest folks to confirm that your device, being on your device at night, whether it's your television, your smartphone, your laptop, the light spectrum coming from your device is sending data. It's data that goes into your eyes, into your optical receptors, into that visual center of your brain. And it's telling your entire physiology essentially that it's daytime. And so that throws off that circadian clock that we talked about. Dang. And so it increases cortisol, which is a daytime hormone. Cortisol is not bad. Yeah. It's getting a lot of bad rap, but cortisol is important. You can't make thyroid hormone without cortisol, for example. Yeah. It's just, if it's produced at the wrong time and in the wrong amounts, it could really mess you up. And so cortisol elevation at night suppresses, because it kind of has an inverse relationship with melatonin. If cortisol is elevated, melatonin's getting suppressed. Guess what happens? You might take your behind to sleep because you're physiologically exhausted, but your sleep cycle is going to be messed up because you're not producing melatonin, which helps to control those sleep stages and your circadian rhythm. So that's, again, you're getting that pseudo sleep. It's like, what did I say earlier? It's that Oreo cookie sleep. It's not that real food, real sustainable.
It's not that salmon and asparagus.
Right? It's this, we getting that salmon sleep. You know?
I
need that salmon sleep.
We swimming upstream. See, I don't know if people can see the video, but I just did a fish flip.
This is really helpful because I wanted to just kind of bring you on to just kind of highlight, the whole premise of what Sleep Smarter is and the tools that it has, but it really is impacting me, because I tour a lot, I travel a lot, and I'm just going into this, we go on tour next week, and I'm just like, all right, I got to make sure that, I'm sleeping well because I am trying to lose the rest of this weight this year. So in closing, is there anything else that you think is important that the listeners and people like myself, because I attract people, the average person, and that's why I wanted you to be on my podcast, because I think people are being introduced to this, but they need help. It's always like I say this, you can't connect the dots until you collect the dots. And sometimes we're trying to connect dots and we don't have all the pieces. And today, this conversation is me collecting the dot about sleep. So is there anything that you would give, in conclusion, that'll really help put us over the top outside of buying this book, because y'all need to get the book?
So I would say this, and this is relatively simple. It's just a matter of kind of stepping up and doing it, which is a lot of people today, especially when we're talking about, success and, becoming our best self, right, is having a success routine, right? A lot of people, like, there's a big movement with having a success practice, a morning ritual, people getting up, they're doing the meditation or exercise, whatever it is. But a great day starts the night before. A great, productive day full of creativity and execution, that really starts with the night before. And your sleep quality is a big determinant of your evening success routine, right? If you really want to be successful, it starts the night before. So that's what I would encourage people to do, is to create an evening ritual or evening routine, something that's sacred, right? You make this sacred so that it can set you up to have the very best day possible, the very best sleep, and thus the very best day possible. And so what does that look like? Part of it, we mentioned, turning the thermostat down, getting off our device, just give yourself 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking. The research says every hour you're on your device, you suppress melatonin for 30 minutes. So if you're on your device at night for 3 hours, melatonin.
And I'm on it all night too. That's it's horrible. Not tonight though.
And so that's the thing, and so I'm not saying to rip the Band-Aid off and let's just try to, do 90 minutes or whatever, just 30 minutes. But here's the thing with any kind of addiction, because we are in fact addicted, we have to fill that with something of greater or equal value. You can't just be like, all right, I'm getting off my phone. You're trying to get to bed at 11 and you get off your phone at 10:30. It's like, I have an alarm, by the way. So alarm is, says, whatever I'm doing, stop, get off. But if you do that, like get off your device and you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs, like you're going to tweak. Like you're going to need to get that hit. You're going to need to check just one post. Like, just let me check Twitter, just one tweet. We're like an addict. And so you can't do that. You have to fill that space with something. So I recommend filling it with connection, whether it's with a significant other, best friend, your mom, whatever, get on the phone. You don't have to stare at your screen to, have your headset on and talk to somebody you love or somebody in person. It's a good opportunity to like a physics. They still are out there. I think, was that Fahrenheit? Was that 451? Was that with Michael B. Jordan? He's in the movie of it now, but when we were in high school, we read it. So people hear Michael B. Jordan, they, ear perks up like, oh, wait a minute, it sounds interesting. But, all the books are not burnt, bottom line. In the movie, they're burning books. But we have access to that. You can listen to a podcast, an audio book. You don't need to stare at your screen for that. Fill it with something that brings you some some joy and something
Yeah.
that is maybe inspiring. You know, they got a lot of
Yeah.
stories and things like that now on these different series of podcasts that are very riveting.
Yeah.
You could, hook up. You got to, if you're,
Well, I'm by myself. She married, so
Yes,
she
I will take your advice.
yeah. She's married, so
My
yeah,
husband's
she would
listening. Yes.
and hopefully, that's more entertaining than Twitter, but
Yeah.
all of these things are we have to consciously fill that space with something. And so create an evening routine that sets you up for a great night of sleep and a great day the next day.
Well, man, I appreciate you. I do want to ask you this. This is something non-related to sleeping. What's one area in your life that you can share that you are going to show up on this year? Because it's about really conquering bravery, courage, and just being like, you know what, I'm not going to ignore. I'm going to show up in this area. Is there something that you can share personally that you're doing in your life to show up?
Oh man, that's easy for me. I just habitually, the past few years, you know how it is when things are really good, we find a way to self-sabotage, know? And so just like I just had one little stupid injury after another, little silly stuff that, my intuition just knew, don't do this on this day kind of thing. And, so this year has really been about something really simple for me, which is just, kind of minding my mobility and just, because I can, even though I go, I'll go train, a couple hours a week, that kind of thing. That does not mean that you are radically healthy if you do that. Because if you go and work out in the gym an hour a day, even, which that matters, but then you're only 4% more active than the rest of the sedentary population. If you just sit down the rest of the day and you're staring at your computer screen or your TV or sitting in your car. And so this year has just been about, really minding my mobility throughout the day. Because even right now I'm at my standing desk, but you can be standing and be sedentary.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just taking some time to just break away from the work.
Yeah.
Go for a walk throughout the day, things that I did a lot more of, but I started to get away from that because of so much, man.
Yeah.
Just being very busy and a lot of people wanting information and time. And so that's something I really been doing. I think I've been pretty good about doing it. Even last night, we were watching I never watched that show. Is America's Got Talent? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I've never watched the show. You see the clips or whatever here or there. But I put it on. We were watching it or whatever, and I just went over and just was doing some mobility work while I'm watching.
Yeah.
Just got up off the couch, went over. I'm listening to the, whatever the dude like shooting arrows or whatever, and still just taking that little 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do some mobility work, and just being more active now throughout the day.
Well, brother, I just want to thank you, man. You inspire me, Shawn, more than you know, brother. I'm serious. Like, and I got to say this about Shawn. The reason that I am jumped back in to Show Up Podcast is because of Shawn Stevenson. When we were sitting at that restaurant, man, he really, I'm going to be honest, y'all, he brought me to tears. Like, I was in tears at the restaurant talking to you, and you kind of helped resurrect this podcast. And so I never told you that, but like you told me, you got to be consistent. And so as a result, you're going to be seeing a lot of this Show Up Podcast this year because you really inspire me. And I just appreciate you, man. And I hope that we can connect again. I mean, I can get some of this weight down and start doing some of those exercises you and Drew do, but I'm taking a hip hop dance class. I started tomorrow. It's the 90s, baby. I'm bringing that 90s. See, I know, and I watch you, man, on social media. You be killing it, y'all. Your whole family, his sons, and everything, they be jamming. And I love it, man. I love the 90s, and so I'm like, I got all my Rob bass, and I got all my little playlists,
Kid and
play, line dancing. I'm about to get it all going, man. So,
hola, hey, I love it.
Yeah,
that's the very best form of exercise. I tell people is the exercise that you'll do. That's the very best form,
Dude, well, man, where can people find you and get more information about you?
Awesome. So you can just where you're listening to this incredible podcast, which thank you for sharing that with me, man. That really hit my heart. And the thing was, you showed up. You put the time in. So you can find my podcast where you're listening to this podcast. It's called the Model Health Show, and I'm very grateful to say we're frequently the #1 health podcast in the U.S.
Yeah,
Right.
come on, number
Awesome.
one. That's what I'm talking about, baby. I'm blessed.
Hashtag number
Talk-
one. And,
Yeah.
we do master classes on every subject matter you can imagine. And we just have a good time. So it's the Model Health Show. And you can also hit me up online. It's themodelhealthshow.com. That's my home online. We've got videos for all the episodes. You can hang out in the studio with me. My social media is there, all that good stuff. Sleep Smart is there. It's just a really nice place to be.
Well, man, I'm following you daily, man. So I'm going to be looking at your calendar somewhere, find you in one city. And, man, I just would love to keep the relationship, man, and hang out with you, man. You're really inspiring. Love your family, too, man. Your son, you're a great dad. You're a really good dad, man. You're raising your sons right, man. Especially the young one, man. He's just like, that dude's a star. He's
He
a
doesn't
star.
even know it yet, man. He don't even know it yet. But thank
He's a
you, bro. I
star,
appreciate that.
man.
And it's already done. It's already done.
It's already done, brother. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. So great to be with you today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for hanging out with me.
All right, take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye.